Welcome to Leaders Unfiltered, Season 2, Episode 3, where we have conversations with people that are interesting and who I find intriguing. And my hope is that you also find these conversations interesting. Today's guest is a role model in every definition of the word. He's that guy that every parent wishes their daughter would bring home. He has achieved so much in his young life. He's adventurous. He is as down to earth as can be. And I believe the stories that he'll share today will encourage us to really live life to the fullest. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephan May. Stephan, welcome.
Thanks, Rudolph. What a privilege being here. Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Do you agree, Bru? Do you agree that every parent will wish that their daughter...
Gee whiz, I hope my in-laws will listen to this.
I'm sure they can testify to that.
No, I was wondering on your other guests that you have, they're always surprised by what you say, and I was wondering what you're going to say. So yeah, you surprised me.
I'm so glad, Bru. That's the goal. Stephan, who are you? I know we've known each other for quite some time, but for anyone who might be listening today, give us a quick background of who you are.
So I think that's obviously a difficult question. Who are you? I think it's good to start with who are your parents. And my parents, they're incredible people. So I think that's obviously where my journey started. And my dad, he is a colored man that grew up in Grassy Park in Cape Town. Colored, a very dark colored, so a lot of people would mistake him for a black guy when he stops at the petrol stations. I think a lot of the petrol guy attendants would say, start speaking to him in Xhosa, Zulu or whatever. And my mom is a white blonde lady, grew up in Pretoria, listen to me, grew up in Port Elizabeth, now Lebeja, also in Durbanville. So my parents, they met, I think in 88, around there, in the late 80s. And they got married in 1990. So this was obviously, for your younger listeners, this is still towards the end of the apartheid era, but still very much in it. So I think the relationship was quite frowned upon in many circles. I think in the more progressive circles it was okay, but it was still not the norm. I was born in 1990, so it's aging myself. I'm 35 years old this year. And yeah, so my parents, they got married 1990 as well. And we moved to Stellenbosch when I was, I think, 2 years old. My mom was a music teacher. My dad worked in the parliament just around the corner over here. And they met at a friend's braai and felt called to move to Stellenbosch. And that was a strange move for them, because it was like Stellenbosch was where apartheid was kind of birthed. A lot of people say so, was, as far as I understand. So they felt, as a mixed couple, they felt called to come to Stellenbosch. If I understand my dad, sort of against his will, he didn't really want to, but he felt like this was what he had to do. So that's where I grew up. I grew up in Stellenbosch, obviously blissfully unaware of all the politics that went around. I remember, walking or with my parents and people looking in the malls, or taking a second glance, because it wasn't. I think it's more normal now, but it wasn't the norm back then. So that's the context that I grew up in. My parents, to top things, besides for being a mixed marriage, they also started a charismatic church in a very traditional town, which also, I think, raised a lot of eyebrows. I've got a brother. He's 4 years younger than me, and I've taken a couple of circles, but I still live in Stellenbosch. I lived in Cape Town for a little bit, lived in a short stint in Dar es Salaam, which was interesting. And for the last 6-7 years, I've been back in Stellenbosch.
Tell me why you start off by answering this question by referring to your parents. And how did that shape you? Because I'm sure by taking this question into that direction, that's meant a lot to you.
It has. I think it shaped who I am today. So I think it's reflecting back on my childhood. It wasn't a normal childhood. I mean, whose childhood is normal, but it wasn't. Mine was. It wasn't typical. It wasn't like a. So I remember so I'm married. Maybe that's also important context. I got married. This year will be my 10-year anniversary. I've got 3 boys, a 7-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So we're nice and busy at home.
So according to the data, they should be
Yes.
the forthcoming soon.
No, the youngest is
Okay.
3. We've missed the 2-year gap.
Okay,
One,
okay.
so yeah. So when my wife got married, or before we got before we got married, we were still dating. I think it was like marriage prep, and I told my wife, you know, our marriage isn't going to be typical, or our lives aren't going to be typical in all likelihood. Like the white picket fence or the whatever people dream of is probably not how our things are going to pan out. And I think that's why I start with my parents. Is I think they kind of just set a precedent of being different, not being scared to stand out, taking risks, not really caring what people think. Obviously, what people think affects you, but kind of notwithstanding that, going out and making a difference and doing what they believe is right. So I think kind of starting with them and their journey, if you read a lot of stories, it all starts with, you know, who are you, where did you come from? Where did you grow up? Because I mean, that shapes you. So I think my experience with the home that I grew up in shaped me. My parents' faith inspired me. I think you're probably going to ask somewhere later, who are your heroes? But I would say that my parents are my heroes, not because their story turned out it turned out like I would want my life to turn out. My parents are divorced now, which was a tragic, terrible story. I think they're still my heroes, even though they've made, you know, mistakes, and they are human. But I think their character, their faith, what drove them, just I think kind of set me up for who I am today, and the way that I operate and the way that I think. So I've learned from them, and so I still look up to them with all their flaws, and try and learn from that, and so that's why I start there, I guess.
So you've already told your wife in that preparation time of marriage that a white picket fence, 2 kids, a dog is not the family that she can expect, or the environment that she can expect when getting married to you, because that's not what you had. Why were you so certain of that?
That's a good question. I think my parents kind of set the standard of just doing things differently. That's not what life's about. Life's not about your comfort. Life's not about you having the best life now kind of thing. It's about much more than that. We all called to something greater. My parents have, affirmed over me since I was young that, I'm a leader. I'm going to be a leader. I used to joke. I used to say, well, I don't know what that means. I could be a cheerleader. I don't like it. Could be anything. So I think they kind of just instilled this. I would say a pioneering spirit in me and my brother. So yeah, that just wasn't even an option. Like just the normal life. So our dreams were always like big and wild. We wanted I think a lot of people have big dreams. But ours and mine were, they're not just to have a comfortable life. That's, I think, pretty boring.
Are those dreams still big and wild?
They are. They've changed it. They are, and they've shifted over time. They constantly shift as you mature and you realize that, okay, maybe I'm not going to go to the Olympics. Maybe
I hate it when that gets freaking slashed.
Maybe I'm not going to be the lead singer of a band. Maybe I'm not going to be a Springbok. Maybe I'm not going to, the dreams, they shift all the time, and life is a journey with ups and downs. I
Mm.
think if you, um, I think life is an adventure, and it's figuring out how to navigate this adventure. I think everyone has there's something for everyone.
Mm.
I think there's a higher purpose. There's a calling for everyone, and I think it's an adventure to discover or to try and discover what that is. And I
Mm.
think we all have our ideas of what it could be or what we would want it to be. And then when those things get shattered, you realize, oh well, maybe that wasn't
Mm.
that wasn't meant to be my dream, or maybe my dream. Then you reset and you kind of figure it out. Still figuring it out.
As we all are.
Yeah.
You mentioned that life's an adventure, and I love that.
Mm,
I actually hear it quite often from people who I have these conversations with,
mm,
and it's quite liberating and exciting to see life as such.
mm.
But give us a bit of a background on this adventure of yours so far. You've told us about your parents. I assume you went to school in Stellenbosch. Did you study there? And what has life been like after studies?
Yeah. So, did go to school in Stellenbosch. How do you tell someone you went to Paulus without saying you went to Paulus? Um, so yeah, I went to an English primary school. So grew up English in a very Afrikaans kind of environment. Um, Went to Paulus, studied at Stellenbosch, studied BCom law. I was quite an avid sportsman at school, so loved sport. I played rugby only until grade 9, because then I stopped to focus on my swimming. Wanted to go to the Olympics, had big ambitions. That didn't pan out when I stopped growing in grade 9. And
I hate it when that happens.
yeah, well, you didn't stop growing, but I've kind of peaked probably early when I was 13, 14. And then that was a risk, because I think, at age 13, 14, the prospects of going to the Olympics, it wasn't an unreasonable, or it was, it, if things carried on going on the trajectory that it was going, that could have been a reality. But then, yeah, from grade 9, 10, 11, 12, kind of stagnated. The guys came past. So I remember I was used to winning. So like coming first, second from like grade 2 was the norm. So if I wasn't medaling or getting medals, it was unusual. And then grade 9, geesh, fourth place, fifth place. I remember my mom trying to kind of console me. Now I've got kids now, and I can just see when they're disappointed or when they come fourth. Like it's tough for a parent. So I think my mom was just trying to, like, seeing me wrestling with the disappointment of like dreams being shattered one gala at a time. And kind of still having belief, having hope that no, maybe, and you carry on training and you kind of put in the hours. And so turned out that I stopped swimming at the end of my matric year. So it was like 3 years of kind of wrestling and going through this journey. In that time, I still remember my mom. There was a super tall guy at church. She was like, length is obviously the thing. She's seen all the fast swimmers, like they grow, and maybe we should just get someone really tall to pray for you. Oh man, I think God must have laughed at us so much. But literally, I remember going to like this super tall guy in church, and my mom was like, "Yeah, I think you should pray for him for like tall genes or something." She was so desperate to help me, and needless to say, I didn't grow much. It didn't help. So I think that was probably quite a shaping time of my life, because you find your identity in what you do. I found my identity in being a swimmer and being a really good swimmer. So when I came into my first year and I stopped swimming, and actually my very good friend, he went to the Olympics and he was like number one in the world in his age group. And so it wasn't like this thing that happened to other people. Like it was it was possible. It just
Mm.
wasn't for me. And so I think kind of realizing that so much of your identity has been tied up in something that you do or something that you're good at was a really good shaping lesson for me. yeah, now I'm so grateful that I didn't go to the Olympics because it's for various reasons, but ultimately because I know God's got a different and a better plan for me. And it's not to say that Olympics is a bad plan. I think it would have been awesome, but um, it's everybody's got their own kind of awesome, and I think it's trying to. And for me, faith has always been like the cornerstone
Mm.
of any journey. So um, yeah, just I think I kind of think of my life in or not life. I've had a course a couple of years ago. They encouraged us just to think about our values and kind of what it is that guides us. So when I sat down and I thought there are 4 or 5 kind of guiding principles, and prayer is certainly at the top of that list. So I've been privileged to have grown up in a house that has been filled with faith, sometimes too much maybe. But prayer has always been a cornerstone, and it's something that I've kept. I think that's again going back to where the home that I grew up in
Mm.
was. Um, a lot of people say, I don't know, or there a lot of people when I tell them that I'm a pastor's kid, they're like, "Oh, you must have been super naughty." Pastors' kids or dominee se kinders are always super naughty. And I think yeah, that is the case, and there are different reasons for that, I guess. I think I realized that so what my parents had was genuine. It was real. So between all the and I'm not saying that other Dominis, their faith wasn't real, but I think I'm just grateful that I could see from an early age that shucks what my parents are living and what they're doing, it's real.
Mm.
There's definitely this is not like a ritual. This is real, and what I'm seeing is real. So I think they really laid the foundation for faith in our lives. So I've been privileged to be able to pray about things from a young age, since school, through all these kind of wrestling through God. Like I thought I was going to be a swimmer. Like surely this is your plan for me, and wrestling through those disappointments in
Mm.
prayer has been a yeah a cornerstone of kind of how I've been navigating this adventure. Um, and yeah, I mean, so the other, if you're interested, I can tell you about the other cornerstone. Sorry, you're not even asking questions. I'm just rambling.
I love it, Drew. That's
Um,
makes it so easy for me.
but the other, so prayer, I think, would be the first thing that kind of guides me on this adventure. Um, and I would say that these are probably more things that I aspire towards. I don't always get them right. The second one is I think humility is not doesn't encapsulate it
Mm.
completely, but just esteeming others higher than yourself. Um, it's the principle of do unto others what you
Mm.
would have them do unto you. I think is the second one that's super important. The more self-centered you are, the more unhappy you are. So I
Mm.
think living outwardly, um, and I think it means relationally is what thinking about the other person more than yourself. And I
Mm.
think that really kind of in any context, that's an important guiding principle. The third one is generosity, is to live with a generous heart, to be generous with your time and with your gifts and with your finances and your resources. And then I think a super important one is being grateful or content. So, uh,
Mm.
being grateful and uh, having content with what you have, even though where you are is not where you thought you would like to be, is super important. But just having a heart of gratitude,
Mm.
and then the final one is just honesty. It's just being as honest as possible, and it's always something I always used to say, "Oh, but I don't lie." But I think there's being truly honest is a challenge. Often, it's so easy to slip in a white lie or to to tell a story and leave out a specific detail, especially when you're married and you've done something that your wife's not gonna like.
Mm.
So yeah, I think those are kind of the 5 principles that I try and navigate this journey. And so far, it's been I definitely haven't got it right
Mm.
often, and bump your head and like, oh, stupid, you selfish and you tell a white lie and you kind of paint something and it always backfires. You catch yourself in like being discontent with where you're at, um, or not praying. Actually, has been a big one for me. It's just not, someone that, if I say my priority is my faith, I often try and look at, okay, but how do I spend my time? If I'm spending my time prioritizing exercise and entertainment and other things above my prayer life, then I know I'm, shooting myself in the foot again. So for me, those 5 things are always good to kind of reflect on, and having people, if people know that those are your values and you start veering from them, it's really helpful to have people that can say, you know, looks like you. A wife's always a good one to
Closest to home.
Closest to home, that can really see what's happening
Yeah.
at home and when you're in a good space or not.
I love the idea of these keystones or cornerstones that you have in your life, and you can measure everything against these 5 principles that you have. You also spoke about a higher purpose that all of us have, and you spoke about discovering that higher purpose. I guess you had to discover these principles for yourself as well. So how did you decide on these 5 principles for yourself?
That's interesting. So I think through prayer and through, that's a really interesting question. So I just thought, what are some key things that I've learned in life that were eye-opening moments for me? So if anyone was to make their own list, I think you shouldn't don't borrow mine. Don't borrow mine as a kind of, these are good things to live by. They are good things to live by, but I think it helps when you've got a personal story that re-emphasizes why that's important. So I think every single one of those values or cornerstones or whatever you want to call them have a very specific story behind each of them, where prayer has many. Gratefulness, actually, I can maybe share that story. It's got a very specific one. I remember driving my someone gave my dad a car, and I my dad then gave the car to me, so it's my first car. It was one of those oldish Audi A4, so it's like a really nice student car. Feeling pretty chuffed. I'm like, this is not a bad first car. And I can't remember what year I was. I was first or second year. No, not first year. I think I was second or third year. And went home to visit my parents in the car. And we went out for dinner. And when I got back from dinner, car was gone. And I was like, I'm sure I came here in my car. And then we realized someone just broke into the house while we were at dinner, like saw that my keys were lying there probably on the table, thought this is their lucky day, literally just took the TV, loaded it into the back of the car and drove away with my car. So in that moment, I was in that car. Okay, so this is actually before the gratefulness kind of value stuck out for me. Was in that car. I remember driving back before it was stolen. I was driving back from Hermanus, and I was like upset about someone. Like my parents had been helping this person, and it just felt like this person was super ungrateful. It was almost like they were expecting the help that my parents were giving them, and I was like super miffed. I was like, shucks, man, can't this person just be more grateful? Like, yes, my parents aren't perfect, and yes, we make mistakes, but surely, like, it felt like this person had an entitled kind of attitude towards getting what my parents were giving. And I remember grumbling and being super upset about it. And while I'm driving, it was one of those moments where I was like, I just felt like this thought, and I believe it was God speaking with me, because I don't think it was my own thought, because I was like arguing against it. But this thought kept on popping into my mind, like, but you the same.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, but I'm super upset about this other person. that is entitled and ungrateful, and then, like, over and over, I was just like, "But you're the same." And I was like, "Shucks, what am I the same?" And I remember it was like this whole argument I'm having, on the way back in the car, and and then I was obviously reflecting on it and, like, prying, like, "Is this true? Like, am I the same as this person that's irritating me?" And the conclusion was, yes, I am. Like, I have received so much. I have, like, been given the most amazing education. My parents have, like, poured their lives out for me. I mean, the the sacrifices they made just for my swimming. I mean, we
Mm.
used to go on holiday to Durban or to, was it Zinkwazi, and they would, like, wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning on their December holiday and drive me all the way to Kings Park because I, like, December is training time. And that's the kind of stuff I used to start expecting from my parents. I'm like, no, like, I'm going somewhere, like, and I started expecting the sacrifices that they were giving me, or, like, if they're late to pick me up, I'd get upset, or you just get upset and you start to expect things from other people, and then I realized, shucks, I've got exactly the same attitude. Yes, my parents are serving me because I'm their son, uh, but I've still got this entitlement attitude towards my parents and everything that they've given me. Yo, and that hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, "Oof, okay." Uh, kind of forgave the other person. I was like, "I'm probably a little bit worse." And then I realized, "Shucks, but what do I deserve? Like, do I deserve anything?"
Yeah.
And then I realized, no, actually, I don't deserve anything. Like, I don't think any of us deserve anything. Life is a gift. Everything we have
Mm.
is a gift. So that shifted my mindset, and it's so then it was funny. It was like a couple of weeks later. I can't remember, the timing is a little bit fuzzy, but then my car got stolen, and having just gone through this, like, this yeah, almost like this confrontation with my own, um what do you call it, my own entitled attitude. I i was like, do you know what, this was a gift. The car was a gift. I could probably be really upset now about this car that got stolen. And there I had to make a decision. I was like, I'm grateful for the time I had with the car. It was an amazing car. And then I prayed and I was like, Lord, I don't know who stole it, but I pray that you'll bless them. I pray that they will come to know you. Like, maybe, I don't know. So I don't know what happened to those guys. I remember the police said, yeah, when we reported it, obviously we're trying to get the car back. Um, uh, but when we reported it, they said, no, they did see, like, guys racing down Merriman Avenue, and they were driving really fast. But that was the last that I heard about the car. And kind of in prayer, I said, well, shucks, maybe I should apply this lesson and just, like, be grateful. Maybe the Lord knows, He knows. Maybe I don't need a car. Um, so luckily we had the car insured, not for a lot. I think it was like 10,000 rand that got paid out for the car, not enough to buy another car. Um, but I ended up taking that money and going on the most awesome holiday to Italy.
I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah. And it was amazing. Like, I wouldn't have, it was such a cool holiday with, I mean, so many stories of its own. Um, but yeah, so had some funding, and I was like, what can I do with this? And the rest of my student days, I rode on a girl's bicycle, like, literally one of those, like, curvy. It was a girl bicycle
The handles over
with
here.
the handles over here. It had a little
I can
basket.
picture that.
Had a little
Stunning.
basket.
Some flowers in the
Could
basket.
have put flowers in the basket. Or did it have a basket? Anyway, it was one of those that, like, it was a girl's bike, the colors and everything. So that was my transportation for the next 3 to 4 years. But yeah, anyway, so all of those values, just to bring back, all of them have a very specific story, and they mean something deeply to me. And it was,
Mm.
yeah, kind of just things that have shaped my life. So that was one of those life-changing, shaping, like, eye-opening.
Mm.
I thought I was good, and I thought I was, like, the bee's knees, being all judgmental about this other person, realizing that, I'm just as bad. And then later, I mean, uh, I think it is something in psychology. I don't know if, um, obviously a lot of people are interested in psychology, but it's just interesting to know that the things that irritate you about other people, it's usually those are your biggest weaknesses, which is just an interesting.
Bad drivers in Cape Town irritate me.
Oh, there you go.
I don't think I'm a bad driver. I'm joking. But Stephan, something that I thought about now was your parents.
Yeah.
And I know you've spoken about them quite a bit. If I give my son a car that was gifted to me and my son loses that car, and it wasn't intentional, regardless. Insurance pays that 10,000 Rand and my son decides to go to Italy on holiday with that money.
Oh.
I don't know how that would sit with me. Was that something at all between you and your parents?
Not at all. No, and this is where I think this is so me and vehicles have not had the best history. And my dad, so I think generosity is probably something that I get from my dad, as a value, and someone that really has embodied this. I mean, the amount of stuff that my folks, I mean, have given away. But another, yeah, I remember the one day he asked me to park his car. And now I'm excited. Now I'm like the 16-year-old, super keen, cool. I'm just starting to learn to drive. I think it was also a newish car that he just got, and he asked me to drive, to park the car. So now I put this thing in reverse gear, but I'm not gonna slowly reverse the car out of the driveway. I, for some reason, just full gas into a tree. And mess up the flicker light at the back, which is obviously, I mean, that's besides for the financial impact, it's just so much admin to get this thing fixed. My dad got me, also probably a mistake, he got me a motorbike for my 16th birthday, but a fast one of these 125, probably the fastest 125 that you can get. Also crashed that on the way back from swimming early one morning. I crashed someone else's VUCA scooter, also in our driveway. It was a bad driveway. But my dad's response to all of those things was didn't make me feel bad, not even for 1 second.
Oh.
And it's something that happened quite a few times, but the way that he was just so gracious every time, and didn't make me, he knew I felt bad every time. So he didn't try to rub it in. He didn't try to make me feel I need to learn something. He just kind of rolled with it and tried to help out. And yeah, so I think, I mean, that's something that I need to emulate. I'm not the same. But just thinking about it now, yeah, what a gift that was.
Wow.
So, and those were some of my, yeah. So I think that was just a way he was that's kind of shaped how, and again, these cornerstone things, they are things that I aim towards. They're not stuff that I always get right, but
that's good.
That was, so no, he didn't make me feel bad about the 10,000 Rand. And yeah, or about any of those other things that were actually my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you studied at Stellenbosch, studied law, and then
Yes.
you went on to work at a few big law firms.
Mm-hmm.
And then a pivot came in your life, to say the least,
Yes.
on a career front. Tell us about that.
So I was at school, I was good at maths, and I was kind of good at, I did well academically at school, which I'm very grateful for, and which was a gift. The problem I had was I didn't know what I wanted to study or what I wanted to become. So it was this kind of, I know I want to go into business one day, maybe. I remember asking my parents, what is that guy with a fancy car at church, what does he do? And they said, no, he's an actuary. So I thought, I'm good at maths, maybe I should become an actuary. And then it was literally, so on my form to first choices, the first choice was actuarial science, second choice was BCom law, and the third choice was something else. But the second choice for BCom law was just because I didn't want to be a lawyer, but I was like, I can't just do a BCom. It's either actuarial science or it's BCom with like something extra. I knew I didn't want to do accounting, which in retrospect, maybe I should have done accounting. But I didn't want to do accounting. I didn't really enjoy accounting at school that much. But in the queue, I remember standing and for some reason, we had to confirm that, yes, we want to do actuarial science or that this is the course. I remember thinking, and again, this was preceded by prayer, so I think it was one of those in the queue. I remember thinking, that's probably not a very good reason for me to be wanting to study actuarial science, is to make a lot of money one day. That's a very shallow that's a very shallow reason. But that was the reason. And I was like, I like maths and actuaries make lots of money. Great choice. And then in the queue, I was like, that's probably not a great choice. And I thought, well, BCom law sounds very broad. Like, what do you do with a BCom law degree? So a little bit of business, a little bit of law. It's good background. You can figure out what you want to do. So then literally in the queue, I changed my option to BCom law and went on that path. And shucks, I thought I was studying BCom with some law subjects. It was very early into the journey. I realized I'm studying law with some BCom subjects, and I had no idea what I just gotten myself into. So I studied BCom law. It was BCom law is a 3-year undergraduate degree with BCom subjects with additional law subjects, other way around, really, in my view. And then to finish your 5 years, you do a post 2-year LLB, where it's just law subjects. And advice from my dad at the time, I was wrestling with like, shucks, do I finish this law degree? I don't want to be a lawyer. Like literally the thought of becoming a lawyer made me nauseous. But I'd started with this BCom law degree. I was like 2 years in at the point where I realized, shucks, this is really not what I thought it was going to be. My dad said, well, maybe just finish what you started. I was like, shucks, that's another 4 years. What is it? 4 years to finish the 5-year degree at the point that I realized that this is probably not what I want to do. And I'm grateful that I did finish what I started. Because I didn't know what else I wasn't going to go back to actuarial science, and I wasn't going to be an engineer. Didn't want to do accounting, so that it wasn't like there was an obvious other option for me. So I finished. And I remember when I finished studying, Suits came out, the series. I don't know if it's still a thing, but it was like a thing. Everyone in Res was watching it, and they were excited about it. Obviously, the guys studying law were like, oh, like Harvey Specter. No. And I remember putting on that first episode, and I got halfway and I got sick. I was like nauseous. I was like, I don't want to do this. This is not what I want to do. And I didn't even apply. I didn't apply for articles. All my friends were applying for articles. This was in our 4th year. And I was just like, I'm going to finish my degree. I'm definitely not doing my articles. And then in my final year, I was like, what am I going to do when I finish studying? And again, I was like, I thought, shucks, maybe I should just pray about this before I just decide no. And then I prayed about it, and I was like, sure, Lord, I'm like so adamant to not be a lawyer that I'm not applying anyway. But like, do you want me to be a lawyer? Yeah, that was also like one of those key moments where I was like, just open up the opportunity for that which I don't want to do, for it maybe to be one of the options on the table. So I opened it up and I was like, sure, Lord, okay, if you want me to be a lawyer, I'll obviously then consider it, but just no, this is like not what I want to do. So a friend of mine that just got into a big law firm in Cape Town, also just here around the corner, he said, yeah, he's just done like they finished with holiday work at the end of last year, and they just got their contracts. They've signed 7 people up to the Cape Town office. They're still looking for one person, like out of the 2,000 or whatever vac work students that they had, for some reason, they still had one spot open in Cape Town, and they were still recruiting in our final year. So for the big firms, they typically recruit in your penultimate year, not in your final year. But like bizarrely, there was this spot open in Cape Town, and he said I should send my CV and I should go. And I was like, well, looked like he had a pretty good time, and looks like the culture was great and that. So I was like, okay, Lord, I'll apply for this place. And anyway, it was 2 weeks later. I went for an interview. I still remember, like, my buttons. I unbuttoned. Yeah, I looked like an Elvis Presley. Like I should have tied another button up. I went for the interview, got the job. Now I'm like going from not wanting, like literally being nauseous, to shucks. Like this is exactly like if you were going to be Harvey Specter, like at one of these big law firms, this is like what you want to be doing. So I got into a big law firm, super grateful. Then I got it turned into excitement, because I was like, okay, well, maybe this could be cool. This is like working in Cape Town, relative to the other guys doing articles, being paid well, um, doing corporate commercial work, which is great. If I was going to do any legal work, it would be that. And when you're doing your articles, it's difficult to find that kind of work. So yeah, so I got a really amazing job. So I did my articles here in Cape Town. And then while I was working for that firm, I got an opportunity to go work in Dar es Salaam. So I had a secondment. My wife and I just got married. So I did 6 months in Dar es Salaam. It was amazing. And then anyway, long story short, got a job to work in Stellenbosch. Didn't want to. Okay, so at that point, my parents were going through a rough time, and it was like divorce, and it was just horrible. And Stellenbosch was literally the last place that I wanted to come back to. But the doors were closing. Long story short, but the doors were kind of closing at the firm that I was at. It was uncertain about whether our whole group was going to be offered another year, because there were a bunch of internal politics. I was thinking about I'm like, I'm going into Africa. My wife and I, this is like the start of our African adventure, thinking this is surely, Lord, this is where we're going to, our next phase of life is going to be somewhere in Africa where nobody knows us and nobody knows who my parents are, and just like reset.
No white picket fences.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the only job offer I got was for another big law firm in Stellenbosch. I was like, Lord, I don't want to come back to Stellenbosch. But it was a great job. It was a really great opportunity. And I learned a lot, but it was still, even after being at like two amazing law firms, working with amazing people on great deals, it wasn't what I wanted to do. Like it was, and I felt guilty, because I was like, I'm living someone's dream. This is definitely someone else's dream, but I feel trapped. It feels like, yeah, like when you wake up in the mornings and you're like, "Yeah, you really don't want to go to work. This is not exciting you. It's really a struggle." And I remember my boss at the time calling me in, and he told me, he was like, Steph, it looks like you could be a really good lawyer if you wanted to. I was like, sheesh, is it that obvious that, that I've kind of like not tapped out, but just, just the legal profession for me, for my kind of my interests, how I'm wired was a challenge. And I remember feeling trapped, like, and at that point, the story of Joseph resonated a lot with me, and it came up. And I remember sitting with my wife, and we like had this whole list of, what other professions, if I wanted to pursue something, what other professions would suit my personality? And we made this list, and like at the top of the list was, maybe I should go into politics. I was like, no, that sounds terrible. The next list was, maybe I should become a pastor. I was like, oh, definitely don't want to do that. And I was like, I don't know what else I want to do. Like, there's no obvious way out of here. Like, I'm in the legal system. Like, what else is there other than being an internal legal counsel somewhere, or starting my own thing? But I didn't have any cool ideas. So like, what do you start? Nothing. Yeah. So I felt super trapped. And then I remember, I can't remember how the story of Joseph kind of, but like popped up in my mind. And I just remember Joseph being trapped in prison for 2 years, and he had this dream about, I think it was for the bread, the baker and the wine maker, and they had dreams, and he had the gift of interpreting dreams, and he said, "Listen, for the one you going to get executed, sorry, I think it was for the winemaker." He said, "But you going to come out of here, but please just remember, like I'm not here, like I'm wrongfully in prison,
Mm.
and please just remember me when you get out." And the guy forgot about him. For 2 years, the guy forgot about him. So here's Joseph, like, trying to get out of this place, but he also doesn't know how to get out. And I resonated with that. I felt guilty that I resonated with that because, like, I'm living this cushy, like, corporate lawyer lifestyle, um, or job or whatever. But that's how I felt. I felt kind of trapped and I didn't know where to go. And then in that moment, I felt that Joseph, in the same way that Joseph didn't know how to get out. He just what was required of him was he just needed to be patient and do what he did to the best of his abilities and like not tap out. Like I think Joseph, and I think it says it somewhere in the story, but Joseph was like he was the he he was a really amazing prison warden or prison I don't know how the levels worked and stuff, but he did whatever he needed to do in jail really well that people gave him
Mm.
um positions of authority and he just made the best with what he had, and he like committed and he was diligent and he didn't compromise on those things. I can imagine it was super disappointing, and in that and I remember thinking, okay, Lord, if you want me, um, if you want me to get out of here, you'll get me out of here. I don't have to worry about that. I think the difficult thing for me to come to grips was, Lord, if you want me to stay here for the rest of my life, oh, I'll do that as well. But it was something I had to go through and I had to make peace with. I was like, okay, Lord, if this is what you want me to do for the rest of my life, then I better like pull up my socks and do this properly and not like
Mm.
be half hearted or half whatever about it. And I, I remember it was like, it was difficult, but it was a decision I had to make. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to be the best lawyer that I can be. And it was still tough. I mean, it was still difficult because like doing stuff that you hate, you can do it really well, but like it doesn't make it any better.
Mm.
But I had to change my attitude, and it was kind of it was more a trust thing of like, Lord, you know where I need to be and where I'm going, so I just trust you fully. I yield to you, whatever your plan is. If you want me out of here, like with Joseph, you can get me out in 2 days. I think it was just, when I read it, sounds like it was like 2 days, and he was
Mm.
second in charge of Egypt. And it was I think it was 3 months after I went through that kind of wrestling again that I got this LinkedIn I'm not even on LinkedIn. But a recruitment agency reached out and they're like, um, they're recruiting for this position of an executive assistant to the CEO of this big listed company where I work now. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know a position like this existed. And then I got like excited and I saw, wow, maybe this is the thing. And anyway, long story short, I applied. And I still remember in the application they said they've always got their list of things that they're looking for, but one of them was someone with really strong financial background. And I was like, okay, don't have that, but I can learn. Like I put in my application, I was like, this is not me, but the rest, I think I've got the rest. Looks pretty good, but I can learn like the finance stuff
Mm.
and the accounting stuff. I'll figure that out. And I got the job. Uh, this was 6 years ago, and I've been there for 6 years, and it's been an incredible journey, an incredible learning journey, working with the most amazing people. Um, like out of the guys still label me as the lawyer. I try and like steer away from that label, but yeah, not doing much legal work at all really, and yeah, really just grateful for where I'm at.
So you made that big pivot.
Mm.
I love how you really consult the Lord in everything you do. But I know there's this crazy side to you as well. You seem very put together. But I know you're quite wild. I remember the story. We were at someone's bachelor's or baby shower. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Toekebraai
Probably
at
Gideon's.
Gideon's.
Yeah.
And you said, yeah, you were just keen to swim in Stilbaai over December, and you swam like how many 8 kilometers up the river on a
Yeah.
random given Sunday. So I know you do random crazy stuff like that. And something else you've done is you started Calling Cape Town, which is just the most amazing initiative. Give us a brief summary of how you ended up doing that, why you did that, and what is it all about?
So I think I've had to tell the story. A lot of people ask, like, where did it start? A part of the story that I haven't really told is actually before it started again, and I think it's appropriate for where this conversation has gone. But it did start in prayer before I'd even had the idea. And I remember, now I'd got this new job, like work. Yeah, it was great, like an amazing job. But I just remember thinking about a time at school when I made the national team to go to Mauritius for swimming in grade 9, just before everything started to fall apart. But I remember the excitement of like waking up with this news of I've been selected to go to Mauritius to like compete in the Africa Games or Champs or whatever they called it. I remember running around with like this crazy excitement of this adventure that's like going to go swim in Mauritius against like whatever. It was, and I just remember that like joy and that like you can't contain, just like I remember like running up and down the passages being like, this is awesome, like so cool. And I remember praying and I was like, sure, Lord, that was really cool. Like I would, and it was almost like a throwaway prayer, but I was like, oh, it would be so cool to experience that for something again, or like have that same kind of exhilaration about something. And again, it wasn't a couple of months where Vanna was my teacher. He's the CEO of Calling Education. He was my science teacher at school, and he phoned me. Now he knows that I work at you know Stellenbosch. A lot of wealthy people that live in Stellenbosch, and they're busy doing a fundraiser for the school. And they said, he reached out and he said, "Oh, can I help or can I make some introductions?" And I knew those conversations are always awkward. Like, oh, there's this great school. Don't you want to give money? It's a difficult conversation always. And I knew that, I knew that there was nothing like material that I could do to help him. But and that night, but I couldn't sleep. I was like, but isn't there something that I could do? And I was like rolling around, really wrestling with like, but what could I do? And that's basically where the thought of the challenge, which was basically to say, well, shucks, maybe if I do something that nobody's ever done before, um, and use it it wasn't like a novel idea. It was just kind of use that to raise funds for the school, and that'll make it easier to raise funds. And then I thought, well, what has no one done before? And then I was like, oh, I enjoy swimming. I recently enjoy running. Never really cycled, but I'm sure I could cycle. And then I thought, well, what about the Robben Island Crossing and the Cape Town Cycle Tour and the Three Peaks Challenge all in one day? Is it possible? And I was like trying to make the sum. And I was like, then I started getting really excited about this idea. And I was like, yes, like I'm going to try it. Maybe this will be something cool. And I remember waking up in the morning. Well, obviously slept a little bit. And I thought the first hurdle is to tell my wife if if she thinks it's a good idea, then I can maybe go. I remember telling her, and she was like, "Why?" Yeah, like first she was like, "Why would you want to do something that like crazy?" But so I think obviously she was unsure because like I don't think any wife wants her husband doing crazy life-threatening things for fun. Yeah, but she was like keen, gave me the green light theoretically, I guess. I don't think she realized how serious I was about it. And then, yeah, and then I started like figuring out, okay, but what is this thing going to look like, and how are we gonna how are we actually gonna make impact? And because the whole purpose is to raise funds for the school, and I had this whole vision about what it should look like and how it should be. And I think a pivotal moment with this whole journey was my wife. I think I got a little bit carried away with the excitement of the event, and I lost sight of like the reason that it was actually for. And I think it was a little bit of like here's an opportunity to like relive all my childhood like dreams of becoming a swimmer and a this and a that and an extreme sportsman. So I think I got swept up a little bit on the selfish side of things. And I remember my wife just reminding me very lovingly that like, I must just remember this is about the school. Like it was another one of those moments I was like, oh man, this is so true. So much wisdom. And it was actually at that point that I decided, well, I don't have to be the first person to do this thing. Like let's a bunch of us do it together, and it's going to be so much more impactful anyway. So I tried at that stage to see who else would be keen to do it. It was harder to get a couple of guys, but most people were like, no, you like one day? No, man, are you crazy? Anyway, got a couple of guys, 7 guys to do it. Turned out in that first year, I got COVID and I couldn't do it at all. So again, if it wasn't for that pivot in the event itself, it never would have happened. And the 7 guys that did it, I can't remember exactly how many finished, but like 3 of them finished the whole event, and that was like a super adventure, super cool. But yes, that's how it started.
It's such a, not a paradox, but so different. If you think of your day to day, in like corporate finance and in a massive corporate, and then you've got this side to you that's just like wild and adventurous. I love that, and I love seeing that in people. But it makes me think about this thing called joy, and we often talk about joy. And clearly, you didn't find your joy in being a lawyer.
No,
but where would you say you find the most joy at the moment? In what place is that where you can stand and say, flip, this is life? What does that look like?
That's you ask good questions,
Stephan. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people have spoken about the difference between joy and happiness, and I won't get into too much of that. But I think more recently, it has been joy is found in relationship. So for me, I think for most people, it's probably in relationship, even if you're an introvert. So I think the quality of the relationships that you have around you. So for me, it starts with my faith. If I don't have a good relationship with God, then things tend to spiral out of control. And so I think having just really healthy relationships, all the crazy stuff in between the work and the excitement and the adrenaline, I think that's different to joy. I mean, I love being in the mountains, and I love I guess I love punishing myself with cold swims in Clifton. We've got one coming up this weekend. So I mean, those things are fun, but I think joy is really like spending time with people that you love, and like with my kids and seeing them enjoy life and enjoy their sport, and having deep, like, good conversation with my family and my friends. And again, it's just that place of contentment, being like, there's actually nothing more. I don't need anything. Like, I have everything. I mean, there's a whole list of things that could be nice, but they're not important, and they're not going to bring joy. I think the thing and I think it starts with your closest relationships. Firstly being faith, but then next is, if you're married, it's with your wife. If you come home and there's tension between you and your wife, life sucks. Like, it doesn't matter how cool the whatever it was, the ocean swim or the whatever. If that relationship is not going well, then it sucks. And in the similar way, like being on an awesome adventure, having a beer in the Alps or whatever it is that you're like cool adventure, if you're not doing it with people that you love, or I mean, so I think I just had this. So for me, it is having a drink and a meal with people that you love, and just having awesome conversation, connecting deeply. Firstly with my wife, like dates with my wife, try and do it every second week. And, just being still without any distractions and just being grateful for what
Mm.
we have. And I need to be disciplined not to think about all the things that I still want to do
Mm.
or like I'm still driving my it was my father-in-law's car, then it was my sister-in-law's car, then it was my wife's student car, now it's my car. So it's probably one of those things where I'm like, "Yeah, another car at some" if you start dwelling on those things, yeah, it steals your joy.
Sure.
And, so I think it's, yeah, again, it boils down to that being grateful and content is,
Mm.
yeah, when I just stand still and relationally I've invested enough time,
Mm.
so that those relationships are good and that we are seeing eye to eye. Um, yeah, I can't think of anything better.
For me, you really a all-rounder. You're such a well-rounded guy, and there's so many traits. If I look at those cornerstone principles that you have, I see that in you. And yeah, you're a role model, as mentioned at the beginning, to so many, and you're a definition of a leader in my mind. But what does that look like on a day to day? Take me through an average Monday
Oh,
in the life of Stephan May, if there is an average Monday with three little boys running around. But just to give us some more insight into practically what does it look like?
sure. Well, I wake up early, very early,
What time?
4 o'clock.
That's very early.
That's very
What
early,
time do you get to bed?
very early. So typically we try. The kids were up quite late last night. They struggled to fall asleep, or late. So this is like fell asleep just after 9. But so typically try and go to bed early when I can, as far as possible. We put the kids into bed, and both my wife and I are kind of enjoy going to bed early. So typically in bed between 8 and 9, but that's often
Mm.
like with work and things. It's often not possible. The 4 o'clock thing is a story all on its own, and it's still a struggle. It's something I felt I had to do, and it was part of that kind of a wrestle between um, is my faith really number one thing?
Mm.
And when I looked at my when I looked at my what my day would look like practically, I would I would often fit my prayer time, try and fit that into what I've
Mm.
planned for the rest of my day. So it would typically be if I've got a big event coming up, I need to exercise and typically wake up to exercise or to do something. And then it's work and then work pressure.
Mm.
And then it's 3 kids and it's family and your day gets pretty
Mm.
busy. And I saw that I tended to um, start neglecting my quiet time, and when that goes, then the rest goes. Like I've said, so the 4 o'clock thing was really one of these things that kind of stuck in my head through various things. Where I was like, if I there's nothing else I'm doing at 4 o'clock in the morning other than sleeping, um, and I felt, well, if I wake up at 4 o'clock to pray, then the rest I've got to figure out the rest of my day around
Mm.
that because then I've got to, yeah, that's like, I'm not going to do anything else at 4 o'clock in the morning. So that was really a decision to order the rest of my day around my prayer time rather than the other way around. I don't think everybody has to do that. I don't, I don't suggest you just go and do that. It really was a wrestle, and it is a challenge, especially at this stage of my life. I had a friend. I'm not answering your question yet, but I had a friend that we were away for a weekend together, our 2 families, and I was a little bit sick. And I remember, like, oh, I was so negative, and I was like, like bad man flu. I think it was more than man flu, but I was like, oh, so like, oh, I'm so tired, and I can't do this and that. I can't help with the kids. I'm sick. Like, oh, just leave me alone. I remember my wife got so irritated with me by the end of that weekend, and I was offended. I was like, "What do you mean? Like, I was sick. How can you expect anything from me?" And I thought I did really well. And then my friend stepped in. And this is where it's good to surround yourself with friends, with good friends that can speak into your life. Uh, so this friend is partly the reason for my 4 o'clock in the mornings as well, because he's a doctor, and he knew that I wasn't. So well, he sees, like, he's a doctor at a state hospital, so he sees things, and I was being a serious wimp, I guess, that weekend. And he just kind of encouraged me to man up and be like, it's like men have to do hard things sometimes, and it's not always comfortable. And like, you have to push through, and you have to. And then I realized, like, in a roundabout way, I was like, shucks, I'm really quick to make excuses for my quiet times, or for not waking up early in the mornings, or for doing those difficult things, because we chase comfort, and we like get so lulled by the sense of comfort that I realized, shucks, if I'm serious about my faith, it's not always going to be easy. Um, and the 4 o'clock thing was kind of, I think for me, was this is what I needed to do.
Mm.
This was my kind of pick up my cross in a sense.
Mm.
But so that's why I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. What it looks like after that is a mixed bag. So it's either 5 o'clock I'll exercise, or I'll go to sleep. This morning I slept again. At 5 o'clock I got back into bed and woke up at just after 6 to get the kids ready for bed. So I skipped training day today. And then practically I either take the kids to work. I take the kids to school. And at work, I wouldn't say I'm in a leadership position. I'm just part of the team. So I don't lead any teams at work, but I go to work and do what I need to do, write reports, attend meetings, do what I need to do. Um, and then get home. I try and go home to be home. I don't always get it right, but I try and be home by 5 in the afternoons, because the kids go to bed early, to then spend time with the kids and with my wife before they go to bed every day. And in between that, managing the Calling Cape Town event, there's still a lot of stuff on the go. Uh, we're leading up to the event that's in March next year. So I would say that's probably the one area where I'm in a more typical leadership role, where I've got a team we've got a team that you together with that. So we run the event on behalf of the school. So it's not my team. It's kind of, we're a bunch of volunteers all volunteering our time to make this event happen every year. So we're a team, and because I started the event, they still look to me for leadership and kind of strategy and rolling the thing out. So in that sense, I've got a team in building the Calling Cape Town event, which is challenging because nobody really reports to me. So it's all, what do you call it? It's leadership just by, I don't even know how to say it, but that's probably the one area where I lead. And then in the more traditional sense of, there's a team and we've got an output, and they kind of look to me for in that role. At work, it's just being I think I'm kind of in the space of just do what I do to the best of my abilities, and like I'm there, I'm committed, and um, don't be lazy and do your job really well. And at home, at home it's just setting an example. Um, and I think for me, it starts at 4 o'clock in the morning, setting an example. Um, and it's, just being present. It's leaving my phone in the car when I get home. Don't always get that right. Digital addictedness, or whatever you want to call it, you need to be disciplined to not have that thing ruin your time with family and have you be all distracted. So I try and be present at home in the afternoons. And then it's rinse and repeat. That's typically what my day looks like. It's not super exciting. Although this weekend I'll be doing a cold swim at Clifton and then climbing Table Mountain. We've got our first training day coming up. So on the weekends it looks a little bit different. And then balancing that with family time.
Yeah.
I told my wife though, so I do have a lot of things that I like to do and want to do. And I told my wife she can keep me accountable if I'm not present at home,
Mm.
and if I'm not, spending enough time with the kids or with her, or feel my wife is I'm more the risk taker, so she's more like the voice of reason. So we good for each other. Um, so our deal is that if I start checking out at home, or my head's like way too busy and I'm not able to give our family the attention that they need, or they feel neglected, then she must let me know. Otherwise, otherwise I try and manage the rest of the time that I have. In between all that.
Stunning. Brew, we can really carry on forever, and there's so many other things that I can chat to you about. And for me, the most attractive thing about what you have shared is how you've simplified life for yourself. You start everything in prayer, and then you take it from there, and you figure it out with God, which is attractive. I think super smart people can make complex things sound simple, and people who are not so intelligent do the opposite. But before we end, I'd love to ask you just a few quick fire questions. I know you're someone that loves giving detail and explaining and context and all that. Don't be sorry. It's beautiful. I love it. But for these questions, quick fire.
Okay.
What's the biggest skill that you believe a leader needs?
I don't know if it's a skill, but just relational.
What's one habit that has changed your life?
4 o'clock in the morning.
You're good at this quick fire question thing. You're doing well. What's one book that you can recommend for me? If you read, I don't know if you get time for reading with all your...
I do, not much. One book that I can recommend. Oh, it was just something that's popping into my mind. It's a rabbit hole, but a good gateway drug is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
John Marcoma.
Yes.
Seems like you're living that quite well.
It's an aspirational.
Okay.
Yeah. Try. Not.
Never actually reached that.
It's difficult.
Mm.
It's difficult, but I try.
If you could have dinner with any three people, living or dead.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Or is it different?
That's the first time someone's asked me that question.
Oh.
But at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Who would that be?
That's an interesting one.
Mm.
Without sounding cliched, honestly, Jesus.
That's so cliche.
Yeah.
I'm joking. It's the reason it's cliche, bro. I think that's the dream.
Yeah, but it's because it's like, and I've thought about that, like, but it's almost like we have this pen pal relationship, and it's like, I've obviously never sat like this with, so like, have a lot of conversations, like you can hear. But it's almost like, I just wish we could just sit down and like not try and, yeah. So that would be great. It would be great to have him there. Other one is random. Probably someone like Steve Carell. Just a funny guy. I've got like I don't follow him like too hectically, and I definitely haven't watched all his movies, but like, he's just like someone that's funny, would be fun to have around a dinner table. And then the other, so I know you've asked these questions before, so I actually thought about it in like having it in different sessions. But the other one would be my parents, but rewind and have like a conversation with them when they're my age and I'm their age.
Wow.
Like, go back into the past and have a conversation with them now, knowing what I know now. I think that could be it'll be insightful for me and for them, obviously. So if Jesus and Steve Carell are around the table, that'll
only be interesting.
And my parents at 35.
Stunning. What's one thing that you're currently working on improving about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I would say just being present and not being distracted. I think it's a big thing for all of us, for me as well. It's yeah, just in meetings, there's always a temptation to like check your WhatsApp while you're in a meeting. Just be present. Just, yeah, being present.
If you had a gigantic billboard that you could carry around with you wherever you go for everyone to see with one message on it, what would that message be and why?
Don't be a poople.
Oh, bro, I didn't see that one coming at all. Okay, now you need to give me the why.
I need to give you the why. So I must give my wife credit to it because I knew this question was coming as well. I was like, what would I put on a billboard? And she, like, without hesitation, was like, don't be a poople. I was like, I love it.
I love it.
And I think well, firstly, it's memorable. If you put something on a billboard, people must remember it. So I think people will probably remember that quite easily. But it also, when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, that's so true. Like, and I think it's one of my values is that I've loosely labeled it humility, but it really is like, don't be selfish. Look out for the needs of others. Esteem others higher than yourself. I've caught myself often being in a judgmental position. So I think don't be a poople is kind of, if you just, doesn't matter who they are. If it's someone that lives on the street, someone at work that really irritates you, it's helped me a lot. Just try and put yourself, just remember, like, esteem that person as higher than yourself. And the way that you, even if they irritate you, or even if they, whatever, this and that and the next thing, if you treat them like they are more important than you, it's gonna, I think that's, yeah, that's key. So don't be a poople.
Stephan, thank you so much. Thank you for not being a poople to anyone. And thank you for so beautifully living out those cornerstones and those keystones that you have in your life and that you've told us about. Thank you for tackling life in prayer in everything you do. And thank you for being a role model and someone that we can look to as a follower of Jesus who truly looks for him and seeks him in everything. I appreciate your time so much. And I look forward to more conversations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brew.